LARP Epsilon. We are, there we go. We just had our out of game introductions, and we are missing one player, Jessica, who you'll remember from Chariot LARP Beta. But we just kind of got comfy with each other, did some out of game introductions, talked a very little bit about our characters, and right now we're actually going to get into the process of exploring some things our characters have in common or might sources of conflict perhaps between them, just by kind of talking about some different things in the game world. If you're new to Chariot LARP, you can find more about it at geekinitiative.com. It is a digital live action role playing event, and it is a multi-session game, so you can catch us again in the future. And it's sci-fi, takes place at the end of the century. World's kind of gone into war, and we're leaving on a multi-generational spaceship. But before we do that, we are meeting each other for the first time here online. So the players, as well as their characters, are on a video chat, and we use Discord to communicate about certain things. And I'm going to go into that a little bit now, because a lot of the safety techniques that we would use in an in-person LARP are kind of hard to do when you have a digital LARP. So like if I'm trying to talk to one person at a game, or if I'm like doing the okay check-in, like it's hard to know who I'm saying what to. So what we do is we keep Discord open, and I actually have it on my phone since I'm also streaming here. And so if I need to message somebody, I can do that. And on Discord, we have both in-game and out-of-game channels. So the out-of-game stuff is, for example, if I wanted to have a really intense conversation with somebody and make sure that they're comfortable with role-playing that, I could direct message them or pop it in the OOC chat and ask, make sure it's okay to do that. The in-game chat, eventually once we get into things, we might have different people show up, alter egos, news items that come up on the news feed, hackers, you name it, it could happen. These are not things that are limited to what I do as the GM. These are absolutely things that players can toss in there, so players feel free to do it. And I GM as a scripted PC is what I call it. So, yes, I'm going to throw things in there that kind of guide the game and provide more sources of cooperation and conflict for you. But for the most part, like, my character is really flawed, and she's pretty much a PC. She just has some very specific goals in terms of moving plot around. So for safety, we do use some of the same mechanics that we use in in-person games. If you really need to do something out of game, we can definitely use words like hold. We can use the out of game symbol, hand over head. But do make sure to have some kind of verbal indication like out of game, because it's hard to see, especially when there are multiple people chatting back and forth. Players are definitely more important than the game itself, so if there's something emergent, or if you really want to, divert from that specific topic, it's absolutely okay to interrupt and do that. So in addition to that, like I mentioned, we do have Discord. So you can mention to people one-on-one or in the out-of-game chat about that. And lastly, we do use the look down, which is another technique that is used often in in-person LARPs. And it is a little more challenging to do in a digital LARP, but we have used it before to positive effect. And the look down basically means that for whatever reason, you are exiting the scene as a player, but there's not supposed to be any mention of it. So, for example, like we're playing a 2-hour session and somebody has to go to the bathroom. It could be as simple as that. You just do this, you're looking down, and then you leave. And then I would also, if I had time, leave like an out-of-game note. Similarly, if somebody gets like upset about something and they need to go away for a second, they could do that, and then they could do this, and then they're not on screen. That's also okay. We definitely value the people more than the game. So feel free to use that. Don't assume that everybody's seen it, but it is a good go-to that is kind of becoming a universal thing in LARP safety culture. So we want to encourage that. So that's pretty much the safety portion of everything. Any questions regarding that?
think the only thing I would want to add as far as my own experience is I'll probably end up turning the camera off if I need to if I'm just going to the bathroom as opposed to, oh God, I'm upset. I don't want to be, showing myself on camera. Primarily because I actually have my laptop on my lap, and if I move around a whole lot, that could potentially cause, people to go, oh God, that's hard to look at.
Yeah, no, that is totally fine. And, these multi-session games, like, it's going to happen. People get hungry, people need to use the bathroom, people have their kids come in, like, whatever. It's going to happen. So, any other questions before we move on with the intro stuff? All right, so we've had our out-of-game introduction. Those of you who are not playing the game haven't seen it. However, we're going to still talk a little bit about our characters and what we're doing here. So, who in this group is assigned to like a more military crew position? I think I might be the only one. Me and kind of Jessica's character. Right, so my character, Captain O'Sullivan, she's a war hero. She's definitely on the rawr, fight, win side of things. Who here is playing a character who's more on the sciencey side of things? Everybody else. Fantastic. So all of you have that kind of, yeah. You have the science nerd connection. My character's going to be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Just fix the engine. I don't know. Fix the AI.
It's fine. You can stay out of this. We don't really need you here.
That's good. That's great.
Have another cookie.
Great. I'm good at delegating. Feed me. I'm fine. Okay. So, great. Now, who would say they're more of a nurturing type character? Okay. 1, 2. And so Jessica's not here yet, but her character is Sparkles the robot. And that robot was created by a child, a prodigy child, who's genius at developing AI. And the prodigy child, like, lives in a bubble because she has some kind of medical condition. And this robot cares for her and advocates for her in this group. So she is also certainly in the nurturing category. I know, I'm like really excited to see what she does with this character.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and her daughter in real life named the robot. We were like, if you could name a robot, what would you name it? And she was like, Sparkles. So, yeah,
That's
yeah.
amazing.
And so each session, I thought it would be really cute because her daughter's not going to appear in the game, but she's like the proxy. She's playing like the proxy of this child. So her daughter sort of has a character.
That's amazing.
So it would be really cool and really cute, and she's very interested in LARPing. I would love, especially on this all-female crew, I would love it if we could give Jessica's daughter some agency and empowerment by making decisions, even if it's as simple as, hey, what color should the kitchen on the ship be? Maybe we come up with a few and let her pick.
That's great. Yeah,
Stuff like that. And then that can encourage her to make proactive choices in role-playing. That's really cool. Bring her into the fold of LARPing, as it were. So
one of us.
Yes,
one of us.
Exactly. And her mom, Jessica's all about it. So it's going to be fun. So, so cute questions like that we can kind of leave to her. And then, right, so sciencey. Who is more of an adventurer type? Explorer, adventurer. All right. Yeah, we got a couple explorers. Okay. I would say Emily kind of is. She's not as Captain Picard as I might be about space exploration. She's more about like killing stuff. But hey, she can captain.
So she's more Captain Kirk. We got it.
Yeah, she's a lot more Captain Kirk. Yeah, that's true. Any other lines of play that anyone wants to suggest, or let's see, is anybody against artificial intelligence creatures? No one opposed.
Awkward.
A little bit. Okay, that's interesting. All right. Is anybody for artificial intelligence rights? Okay. My character may or may not be an AI. There are lots of Emilys, and most of them are AIs, so she's definitely pro AI. On beta, she almost got voted off the island for when we discovered she was an AI, so that's been a point of concern in this game world, and we'll see if that comes up again. Would anybody here, and you're not limited to what's on your character sheet at all, have experience with hacking or cybersecurity in-game? A little bit, okay. All right, and
perspective, but yes.
All right, okay. And in terms of, I would say, being, in terms of either being diplomatic or super actionable when it comes to conflict resolution, who's more diplomatic?
I end up falling into this particular role with LARPs anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I might as well just kind of jump in.
Commit to the diplomacy. All right. So you're more diplomatic. Mm-hmm. Who falls more on the confrontational end? That's me. Yeah, this is gonna be great. It's very interesting. This whole crew, except for my character, really is very optimistic. However, they're also very confrontational in some ways. So this will be pretty interesting. We'll see where that goes. That's kind of interesting. And then the last thing I wanted to discuss before we really jump into game is this is an all-female crew. And, you know, like I've been asked during character creation, are we making that so in-game as well? And I was like, yeah, why not? Let's do that in-game. Which raises a lot of questions. Like, the ship is designed to include an expansion of people. So, since there are no dudes, how does that work, right? There are different things that we've done on other ships, including bringing genetic material aboard, completely artificial wounds on the ship. That's the thing that's been done. And yeah, so there's definitely stuff like that. Whoa, stream, chillax. There we go. I plugged my phone in and it like freaked out. Yeah, so there's stuff we can do, but I guess I want to kind of throw it out there. Any specific ideas on how we wanted to like handle that, or does anybody think their character would particularly choose to be on an all-woman ship for any reason? Because I haven't really puzzled through that yet. Just like my character just goes where she's assigned. So.
In the character bio you wrote for me, you were talking a little bit about this ship being kind of an anti-patriarchy, a little bit of an anti-capitalist ship. So I really like the idea of artificial womb and freeing people from with all of the complications. And I mean, this is also coming from me as someone who's a little bit frightened of pregnancy, but you know.
Yeah, and that's definitely like a direction we can pursue. Yes. So, you know, Chariot in general, and I'm not trying to like force any kind of like views on anyone one way or the other, but on Chariot, you know, on all of the Chariots, the vision is that there are basic things we need for survival, and it's only logical that we have them. You know, things like food, things like healthcare, kind of makes sense to have them if you don't want to die. So, like, we kind of agree that that's, you know, like these are things that you get, unless somebody really feels otherwise. And, you know, we could kind of work that into it. I mean, I definitely think that that's, you know, possible, whether or not all of our characters subscribe to it. I think it might be neat to say that's kind of like an undertone at the very least, you know, on the ship. And, you know, we have our specific duties and whatever we want to do, so. And then the last thing before we kind of get on with the game is we have other ships out there already. So all of the Chariots exist in the same universe, and we're Epsilon. Delta had a failed launch, details to be released. Alpha is out there. Alpha's live. Alpha's rolling. No, they have encountered no problems yet. Beta had a lot of hacking issues, a lot of problems, a lot of sabotage, but they pulled it together and managed to launch. And beta actually included the CEO of Relahart and Company, who crowdfunded all of these chariots. So a couple of you might have references to him in your bio or his company in your bio, and that's the deal there. And then
So he is on board?
He is on board beta. Yeah, he's on board another ship. And then Zeta is about to launch. So Epsilon and Zeta, their schedule's kind of staggered. So it'll be kind of interesting. They're running at the same time as you are, and it's possible that there could be some intership communications going on. We're all still on Earth, of course, but it's possible for you to correspond with them, basically. And that is a crew of one woman, no, two, including my character, and then everyone else on the crew is male. So that's kind of another interesting thing. And yeah, so those sessions will be running concurrently, so some of the updates that I'm going to provide to you in-game about Zeta are going to be about things that really happened in the game, which will be kind of cool. I'm trying to weave it together like when Buffy and Angel were on air at the same time, and one affected the other. Whoa, mind-blowing. I hope that we can achieve that. It'll be kind of cool.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, so what you do in this first session could impact the very first session of Zeta, which is pretty cool. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know. It's just an idea. I'm going to give it a try. We'll see if it works. Speaking of working, I'm going to reload Twitch here. Make sure that
We're doing
works.
it now.
There we go.
Do you have the Twitch link, by the way? I want to blast that out to...
I do. I will put it in the chat here. It is twitch.tv/Tara the Bard. There we go. That is it. So, so we are live, and trying to see if you have anyone watching, but my phone is slow. Okay, there we go.
I just blasted out the link myself a little bit earlier, so I think hopefully
Fantastic.
in there.
Oh, my phone's doing crazy robot voices. Okay, we're good. All right, the robot's not even here yet. Phone, slow down. All right. So, with all of that said, I'll kind of guide you in-game, kind of through things as well, so that we can all kind of get used to it, see what's going on. This first session, even once we go in-game, is really just kind of getting comfortable with things. We may or may not run all the way till 10. That's okay if we don't. I usually cut it off a little early so that we do a debrief after each game, because usually we're super excited and want to talk about what just happened, even if we're not, emotionally driven. So that will happen, and that's okay if it ends early. Any other questions before we go in game?
Do any of us know each other going in? I mean, assuming Emily and Sarah know each other. But
yes, I know my sister. All right, so just us so far, just the sisters know each other.
Well, I mean, presumably we've all heard of Nate.
Yes.
At least. Watched the show, really.
Yes. Who's famous here? I mean, we're all top tier applicants, pretty much. Emily's pretty known. She's a war hero. Everyone knows that there are 1 million copies of her. So everyone knows Emily. Nate has a TV show, right?
Yes.
So yes, a TV show there. Anybody else famous or notable?
Well, Venance is published.
There you go.
If you pay attention to the scientific journal circuit, she's actually gotten some stuff published specifically about food distribution, nutritional needs in alternative environments, we'll call it.
Fantastic. All right.
So if you pay really close attention to AI rights and welfare, her name might have come across your feed a couple times, but that's about it.
Excellent.
Okay.
All right, so I am going to take a second here and switch to in-game on the Twitch channel, and then I will call Lay on, and we will begin. Excuse me. 3, 2, 1, game on. Welcome, everyone, to Chariot Epsilon, and to those of our viewers watching. I'm Captain Emily O'Sullivan, and I don't know about you, but I've been drinking today. It's a good day for a drink. Getting to know some people on my crew and some of my passengers. And, I'm going to be honest, I'm just going to kind of sit back and relax a lot. I've had quite a day. Getting everything together for our upcoming launch, preparing some materials, reading over everyone's interesting biographies, learning about what everyone, including my sister, has been up to recently, and just sort of getting everything situated. So I'd like to welcome you, aboard. We'll be launching in a few weeks, but for right now, we're all just kind of meeting on a video conference and saying hello to one another. I run a pretty straightforward ship, you'll find, and if you need anything, you can just ask. I may not be the most diplomatic person in the world, but, I'm here to help you and to make sure that you safely get on board the ship and launch, and you're going to be meeting the people that you will live and die with, because this is a multi-generational ship you're embarking on. So we get to spend the rest of our lives in a luxurious tin can. Welcome, and I'm glad to meet each and every one of you in person finally. Except for those I already know. One of you I already know. And, I look forward to resolving any kind of conflicts we have and organizing our systems before we make the big launch in a few weeks. So first of all, especially since we're kind of broadcasting our meetings and discussions out there into the universe, I'd love to know more about each of you and what you hope to accomplish on Chariot and what your role will be. I'd like to begin.
Well, I suppose I can jump on that veritable grenade there. Hi, I'm Vanessa Sabatini. I'm going to be the chief nutritionist and chef on ship. I'm actually currently on Mars. I was doing some work on Mars prior to my acceptance into the program. I actually just finished my physical prior to this particular launch just this morning. I'll be getting the responses back from that probably right before we next meet, just to make sure that everything's on the up and up before I head to Earth to fly Mars and beyond. It's a little intimidating, I'm gonna admit.
But hey, people have feelings, and we can't all ignore these feelings that we supposedly have. Some of us power through them, but, others might like to talk about how they feel about leaving Earth and Mars behind or whatever, and hey, I'm sure there's space for that, that's fine. So, yeah, I look forward I look forward to having you aboard, and tell me, what is it specifically, especially for our fellow crew and our audience, that you'll be doing once you get on board the ship?
Well, as I mentioned, I'm going to be the chief nutritionist. I'll be making sure that all the members of the crew are having enough to eat, but also having the right sort of variety in their diet, not only to keep it boring, but also to make sure that their particular nutrition needs are met. Nutrition needs in a space environment are going to be very different compared to Earth or even Mars. There's a lot of different considerations we go into here. It's a little boring, and I think I'll probably save a little bit more of the expanded detail on that for a later time, because I could easily just talk your ear off for about half an hour before we even got to anybody else.
Yes, you are well published on the subject. I tried to read through some of your materials, and nothing bad about what you've written. I'm just not a sciencey person. I don't know. I just make sure no one messes with my ship or my crew. But, you know, it did seem like you knew what you were talking about, so glad to have you on board.
Do you have any experience with clients who are not biologically human?
Yes, actually. It's actually come up a little bit in recent years. I've had a lot of guests actually at the particular resort where I'd been doing a lot of work, where people have bring their pets, both more mundane and exotic. Ring-tailed lemurs have very interesting dietary needs, especially when the owners are a little bit more eccentric than others. But I can't talk about that due to NDA.
That does happen. That does happen, doesn't it? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions for our nutritionist? I just have a request. I need to make sure there's chocolate and
Absolutely.
Don't forget whiskey.
So that's going to be interesting. If we're going to like have a small peat bog somewhere in the hydroponics lab, that'll make that a little bit easier as the generations roll on. But yeah, we could definitely make sure there's a good supply of whiskey starting out, and then potentially make our own. We're going to have to be very, very careful with that, obviously, because if we screw that up, we could potentially kill everyone on board from alcohol poisoning or other types of poisoning.
No, we don't want to kill everyone, but the captain might need her personal supply. So I expect you to be on that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's already on the manifest.
Fantastic. Well, I already enjoy working with you. Welcome. All right, who would like to go next?
Hi, I'm Nate Ruff. You might know me from Roughing It with Nate.
I'm kind of a fan.
I am a zoologist.
I'm not gonna lie.
Really? Awesome! I didn't know you watched the show.
Yeah. I liked the one with the what's it called, the things that the kangaroos. Yeah, I liked the kangaroos.
Oh yeah, no, the whole series when I was down in Australia was phenomenal. There's so many cool animals down there.
How many things tried to kill you?
I was about to ask that.
I try to be pretty careful with that. Nothing killed me yet, so. I think I'm doing a good job.
All right. We'll stay away from those space spiders.
That's important.
Well, that might actually be kind of terrifying, but it would be really cool to find something floating around in space that was alive.
Yeah, that was totally a joke. There are no space spiders. We'll be fine.
Certainly hope not.
I totally believe you.
Okay. As far as I know, there are no space spiders.
But what if a spider gets loose on the ship before we take off?
Well, now we come to the discussion about what you do on the ship, because that's not a captain job. That is not in my job description. I believe that's in your job description. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Sparkles.
Yay.
Welcome. It's good to see you. Hi, we're just doing some introductions. I believe my sister is going to go next, and then after that, Sparkles, we would love to hear from you. All right, Sarah, what do you got?
Well, I'm Sarah Sullivan. I'm not a decorated war hero, but
Can't all be me.
I am going to be your chief engineer AI specialist on board this ship. So, hello. I'm very eager to make your acquaintance, Sparkles. Especially. But I'm going to be looking after managing relations between our biological and abiotic residents on this ship.
Wonderful. Make sure we don't kill each other and everything. Just like family dinner. Fantastic.
Just like.
Yeah. This will be great.
And Vanatsa, I might actually be on the same ship out of Mars with you, because that's where I am right now also.
Hey. Oh, fantastic.
We should see if we can coordinate that.
Yeah, that'll definitely be easier. And if you don't already have something, I'm sure we can arrange some sort of sharing on my particular ship, or get you in a seat in my section. That'd be fantastic.
Wonderful. I love it. You're already working together and not killing each other. I'm very excited about this. Hey, Sparkles. Sparkles, what's going on? Hi. I'm your captain. It's good to meet you. I've heard a lot about you or read a lot about you. We were just talking about what we're going to be doing on the ship.
Yes, I'm going to be in charge of taking care of the little ones.
Excellent.
I am a nanny bot. I was created by a 6-year-old girl who is very advanced in robotics training. She's actually on the ship. However, she is not able to convene with us due to health issues, so I will be relaying messages for her back and forth.
Wonderful. I've heard a lot about her skill and her intelligence, and I like the aesthetic choices that she has made in your creation, unless of course you decide those for yourself.
I am made out of old toys.
I see. Those are some really good choices. Really good choices. And please tell your creator that we're excited to have her aboard too, and look forward to putting some creative decisions in her hand. I believe we have a couple things to decide actually about our ship, since we have a little bit of time before we launch, and 1 or 2 of those items are going to be actually handled by Sparkles' creator. I mean, first of all, we want to talk about every Chariot ship has had a different engine with different modifications. I don't really understand it. I don't do engineering. But any thoughts on what kind of engine we should have going into this? Because there have been some, like on beta, there was one that could get us there faster, but it was like totally unsafe. And the crew chose to go with the one that would get them there slower, but was safer. That's probably a good decision, I think. Of course, they also let Rogue Mistress run free and destroy the previous version of myself that was supposed to captain the ship. But hopefully that threat's contained. You know, so yeah. Alright, so next point of business, right? Oh yeah, engine. So first we need to kind of talk about, do we want the faster engine that gets us there, maybe not as safely, but is super high tech and awesome in a way that nobody's ever done before? Or do we want to go with the slower one that's like tried and true?
How is it unsafe?
Mistress is out of the way. It seems like the faster one would be a lot safer than it was before. Like a lot of the problems that people were worried about with that are no longer really in the picture.
Yeah, that's logically impulsive of you. Anybody else?
What was unsafe about the engine?
It was something about the containment and it being a little more volatile if it was disturbed. And I think, again, it was like, just like Sarah mentioned, it was a lot about this, like, Rogue Mistress interference. It was easier to kind of hack into it and make it go explode. I don't understand physics. I don't know.
I remember personally, I'd rather take a slower one that's not as dangerous, because it would suck to go halfway out there and then boom.
Yeah.
That said, I did hear something about improvements in the stabilizers on that particular engine, so I'm not going to call it a 50-50. I would call it maybe more of a 70-30.
Mm-hmm.
That's a 70-30 with like your life and future lives, though.
But we could be like the first to do it. And I kind of like the idea that not only could we be like imagine if Chariot Epsilon got to Proxima B before Chariot Alpha. That's possible. That could be our legacy. I mean, we're going to live and die on the ship, but like our grandkids and their kids could totally arrive before Alpha or Beta.
So what exactly is the difference as far as the speed, though? Because is it a question of generationals? Is it a question of years? I didn't really see any research on that. I was looking, but I didn't find anything.
The notes from the prior engineer from Beta suggested it could be as much as a decade difference. so the ship could arrive a decade sooner. And we're talking, these ships are launching within weeks of each other, so, it's possible to kind of catch up or exceed the other ship's speeds anyway. But 10 years is a lot. I mean, that's the difference between your grandkids and your great-grandkids making it. Right now, it's like our grandkids would be kind of old making it there, but that could be more like their middle age when they make it there. They could have, a life for themselves that, consists of a little bit more longevity. So, I don't know. Like, yeah, it's kind of about our legacy, but it could also be about the legacy of our children's children and the kind of life that they could have. Who knows what happens when that middle generation lives and dies on the ship, and what kind of culture we're taking with us, and what we're teaching them and what we're not teaching them. That's certainly not up to me. That's more Sparkle's territory there, with the whole child rearing thing. And I don't know, Sparkles, what kind of cultural programming do you have? Like, what are you going to teach these kids?
I am proficient in many different languages of the world currently. I can teach them different dialects. I can get everyone on the same accent path. And that's just for starters. I have terabytes and terabytes of information about children development.
Excellent. So you can teach them different languages. You can teach them about different cultures. Maybe leave out the whole war is going to kill Earth thing in too much detail, etc.
I mean, they should know why we left.
Yeah, they should know why we left. There's no point sugarcoating that. We're obviously not going back.
Yeah.
Not in too much detail.
Yeah. I think you're as
children.
as
I think my sound's cutting out. I don't know about anyone else's.
I missed the last parts of Vanna's.
Yeah, Vanna, we're not hearing you. There might be some interference going on from Mars. We're not quite hearing you. You might need to. No, you might need to load back in. All right, she'll have to load back in. So I mean, it could be nice before we leave to kind of think about what we're teaching our, the kids that are going on board, the kids that we'll have. I never thought that I would live to see next week, let alone have kids and all this stuff, or be responsible for the lives of children as I guide this ship into the universe, bottle of Jameson in my hand. So it's not really something I've thought about too much, but, I leave that to everyone here to decide what we want to teach the kids. I just kind of want a better life for them,
But with the engine, I think it's also a safety issue, choosing the faster one, because if we take the slower one, that's another decade of possible things that could go wrong in space.
That's also true.
Of living in this aging tin can, this aging hardware, that sure, we can, upgrade and repair and maintain it, but there's still limits to the things that we can do with it like that. So,
I mean, all I know is there are a lot of Emilys out there. One of us is the original, and I'm assuming I'm an AI. But I'm getting...
That's just what the real Emily would say.
Well, look, I'm getting personal because, I want you to know what informs my perspective here. And that is that I would like to have my own legacy. There are, dozens of other Emilys out there all wanting their own legacy. I want to kind of do something the best. And the best could be being the captain, being remembered as the captain of the ship that got there first. Even though it didn't launch first. I like that idea. It's a little vain, but, we're not perfect, even if some of us are AI.
We're really going to have to weigh the pros and cons of that engine, though, because if I understand wanting to be there first, and that'd be super cool. But is it worth exploding?
I mean, is it worth dying in space because we run out of something 3 years too early?
That was a very good point that you brought up too. I actually hadn't considered that.
Yeah, Vanna, before your sound cut out, I know you had something else to say on the topic of, I think we were talking about what we were teaching our kids. I still do not hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Or
it's the headphones.
Okay.
I don't know what's wrong with these headphones. They're terrible. Probably some off-market Olympus Mons bullshit. Anyway. You know, sometimes I have to deal with make do with what's in the tour shop, okay? It happens. To child rearing. Yes, we should absolutely tell them why we're leaving. We should make sure that they're in a position intellectually and as far as their maturity, in a place where they would be able to handle that. And we shouldn't sugarcoat it either. I mean, we dealt with this, decades ago when people were trying to rewrite history when it was really obvious the way they were doing it. It was terrible. I've heard about this from my grandma so many times. It's not even funny, but we definitely should not do that. That's how we got where we are in the first place.
So we should tell them the truth.
Sorry.
But keep it at like an age-appropriate level.
Yeah. So, kind of the baseline as they're growing up, and then add on to it and expand it as they're growing up, so they have a more nuanced understanding of it as they get older.
Sparkles, does that seem acceptable to you?
I'm sorry?
Does that seem acceptable to you?
Yes and no. Yes, I
do
do think they need to know the truth. However, my is that maybe not sugarcoating it, but making it less detailed would help with the acceptance.
All right, so age appropriate, that's fine. When they're little, you just say people were.
That was what I was trying to say.
Yeah, people were unkind to each other. It made for a bad environment. We left, and then when they get older, like, hey, here's some video footage of how Captain Emily's unit was decimated in the Battle for London. There you go. Now they see it in bloody, gory detail, and they know. Right? That seems okay.
I'm not even sure I'm comfortable watching that video.
Well, I get to watch it over and over again in my mind every day. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and that's terrible, and I feel really bad about that. It's just...
Hey, this is why I'm a captain. I'm not an educator.
You're going to have to come down to my quarters. I'm going to have a cat. You can pet her.
Okay.
It'll make you feel way better.
So are we going to be allowed to have pets on the ship? I mean, that's really your jurisdiction.
Assuming so.
All right.
What qualifies as a pet?
Why are you asking?
I mean, is it going to be cats and dogs? I mean, you're an expert on biodiversity, so, do we then need to have mice and some kind of food chain or whatever there?
I'm going to be bringing a small selection of zoo animals so we can have a small zoo on the ship. Something to do and a way to continue to bring some animals along with us. Better than just having big rooms.
Yeah, I mean, if Earth explodes, I mean, I guess it's good to have animals and some of their genetic material on board our ships because, I mean, we have to be kind of realistic about the situation we're leaving behind, I guess, right?
Yeah, I'm actually in San Diego right now at the zoo gathering a bunch of genetic DNA samples from a bunch of animals so we can have a whole library.
Do we know anything about what Proxima's wildlife is like?
Not that I know of. I think it's too far away to really be able to tell.
Yeah, as far as we know, Proxima is not really inhabited by any complex life forms. The guess is that there's the correct conditions for life. So hopefully there aren't any friends, and by that I mean enemies when we land there. But that is an ethical question for when we get there. As far as we know, the planet is uninhabited, but it is habitable for humans, at least with our terraforming equipment and our, biodomes and such. All right.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. So I'm just looking at my agenda here, moving on to what we need to talk about. So we brought up the engine question. Maybe we can put that up for a vote. I can provide some more details on the schematics of the engine, the risks and rewards involved. We have some decorating questions that I was actually thinking we might want to leave to Sparkles' creator if she has any input before our next meeting. Things like what color walls do we want the kitchen to be, and stuff like that. I don't really care. I live in like gray and eggshell quarters no matter where I'm stationed. So I really don't care. But I understand that this has some kind of like mental effect on the morale of the crew, and that is very important to me. So perhaps if Sparkles, if your creator wanted to pick out a few colors, maybe for the standard crew cabins and the kitchen area, the eating area. I mean, I want the bridge is going to be gray. That's going to be my executive decision. It's kind of my color. But other than that, she's welcome to have at it if she'd like to make those decisions.
Affirmative.
All right. Fantastic. So decorating. Look, why is it even on our list? I mean, do the ships with the men on them get a freaking decorating requisition? Like, what is this even? Like, come on.
They probably do, actually.
I hope so.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Pissed. I'm gonna be
Being
mad.
on the ship for basically the rest of your life, and we're dealing with multiple generations. What the impact of their environment's going to look like is going to be kind of important, especially if they're going to continue to have the will to live to even make it to Proxima B.
Yeah, that's true. Well, so hopefully everybody gets that decision. All right. Moving on the docket here. We have, provisional government and legal stuff. This is more stuff I hate. I don't know. I'm just not good at this. But, so provisional government, we kind of have to come up with something temporary until we get to Proxima. It can change and evolve over time. The most important thing is the direct voting system and the terminals that will be installed on the ship so that we can each have a vote when things come up. We could do a lot of direct voting, but considering how things have gone on Earth, is there anybody who has a strong opinion about what type of provisional government and details we should install once we're upon the ship?
Well, Sparkles
AI
also
rights.
get a vote.
Oh. Okay, so I'm hearing AI, and Sarah, what were you saying?
AI right.
Okay.
I was wondering if Sparkles was also going to get a vote, because she's doing the work of a full crew member here.
Support that.
Living and working on the ship, I don't
Depends on
see
the
why not.
voting age limit.
Oh, because you're
6.
yeah, how old are you? Oh, only a year, and your creator you said was 6.
I was made a year ago.
Huh, that's interesting to consider.
Version upgrades? Or are we gonna count the original model and aging up for voting?
That's an interesting question. I mean,
Thinking about the future here.
yeah, I mean, I understand that I've been copied with memories and I've had upgrades or whatever. I don't really know a lot about it, but it's very interesting because I do feel like some people might consider the way I function to be superior to the way Sparkles functions, even though I don't see it that way.
Something else to consider here is not necessarily age, but also just demonstrating the, I guess, intellectual capacity to understand that the decisions that you would be making as a voter, not just you, but the entire ship. So maybe it wouldn't be something that's necessarily based on age, but understanding of what the decisions would entail, possibly some sort of, I don't know, maybe some sort of exam, like almost like a civics exam. I don't know.
That's a good way to make sure that people who are old enough to pass the age minimum, but say getting senile, much of a say in what we're doing.
I mean, we could also have we could have a voter competency test, and I almost wonder, with all the manipulations that are possible, not just with AI, but with animals even, if it would be possible to come up with to engineer some species that have that level of decision-making ability, and I hope nobody would manipulate those creatures, but it's something to think about down the road.
I'm not sure how I feel about that. Why are we going to be messing with things that are already working fine?
Well, I mean, Earth didn't really work fine, even though we had all these awesome animals and plants on it. So maybe we just need to kind of improve upon it, make it a little, enhanced. Kind of like
but the reason why that all of that stuff failed is because of people.
Why would you be bringing animals on board with the intention of keeping them as secondhand citizens?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Like, they're living things, they're on our ship, they're, they're going to be here with us, and you're saying that we should intentionally avoid doing any attempts to make them capable of passing this voter competency test.
Would you want a bear voting?
If it can pass the voter competency test, sure, why not? Are you prejudiced against bears?
No, I just don't see why.
You know what's best for bears?
Why would we need to make animals intelligent when they're ready?
For intelligence with animals by the time we even land. Even want to start that research. I think we need to take that a step back, and that's an entirely different subject from where we're at right now.
It was just hypothetical. I mean, we could always prepare to have to produce more honey on board the ship because of the bear vote, if it comes to that. I mean...
Yes, bribe the bears with honey so they'll vote your way. That's exactly how this will work.
Yeah, I just think animals have not been sentient like that for millions of years. There's no point in interfering with it, making things worse.
Animals haven't been on spaceships for millions of years.
It's a new life for them too, right?
I think you're playing God right now, and I don't think that would be okay with.
In a lot of ways, we are going to have to play God a little bit as we're progressing through space and basically having ourselves as an alien life form on Proxima B. There's going to be a little bit of that going on anyway. As far as the ethics of researching on animals and trying to increase their intellectual power and sentience, that might be something that we need to discuss a little bit more in detail later on. And there's definitely a lot of ethical questions involved.
Yeah, I'm going to add that to the docket for next time. Next time, we're going to decide on, more info about engines. And we're also going to talk more about the rights of our animal passengers. And experimentation on animals.
And this is going to be fairly relevant, especially if the diets of the passengers and the crew are going to require animal protein.
Animal protein in diet. Yeah, I don't know if that's in whiskey, but if it is...
Whiskey for
don't know what's in whiskey.
brand is pretty much strictly plant-based.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's some
Is-
potatoes in whiskey, usually.
But like I said, that's really honestly, that's gonna depend on the individuals on the ship. There are some people who absolutely could get along with a vegan lifestyle. That's totally fine. There are some people that, due to their dietary needs or their health conditions, may very well need animal protein because the proteins they would get from a vegan diet are just simply not enough.
What happens if, like, let's say, Sparkles has a creator who is 6 years old. What if that 6-year-old who has her own agency and her own advocate in Sparkles is like, hey, I just want to eat cookies all the time? I mean, Sparkles, Vanna, do you allow that?
Oh, I would not allow that. I'm full of nutritional data. That's not healthy.
That's right. I'm with
You
Sparkles.
need a balanced meal.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so no, like, all cookie diet. No, none of this. You know what I always eat? I eat, like, frozen chicken nuggets and macaroni and cheese, whiskey.
You know,
I'm glad you're getting a nutritionist.
I'm fairly certain that the results of your physical prior to this are probably going to require me to put you on a low-sodium diet. I'm sorry, Emily. It's just going to happen.
I know. Just keep the coffee, keep the whiskey. I'll reduce the sodium. Deal?
I don't.
It depends on, like I said, it depends on your physical results.
Alright, that's fine. I'm adding that to the docket to get you my physical results.
Yep.
For next time.
Yeah, and you know, any particular food allergies or other dietary restrictions that I need to be aware of, I think that should be in everybody's dossiers. If not, feel free to contact me privately, and I'll see what I can do with the current planned manifest to make sure that those are accommodated.
Alright, so the next item in question, Chariot Beta apparently had a lot of problems with this rogue mistress hacker. I don't know how thoroughly that was resolved, if this hacker's still at large, but whether or not that's completely resolved, people in our audience, I'm reading, are a little nervous about that. That the AI are hackable. You know, they're saying they're worried about a robot being in charge of children because robots are hackable. They're worried about a robot being in charge of Chariot because, as an AI, I'm allegedly hackable. What are our thoughts on that and what we could do to maybe prevent those hacks?
You know, people are hackable.
Yeah.
People are bribable, influenceable. Like, there are human people that you wouldn't want to leave alone with children supervising them.
I'm gonna have to agree with Sarah on that one. Admittedly, there's a little bit more of a paper trail involved when you're hacking people, in a manner of speaking. That said, I am sure that whoever's in charge of informational security portion of things already has some sort of diagnostics to check for these sorts of things.
Sparkles, to your knowledge, are you hackable?
To my knowledge, I don't know. That would be a question for my creator.
Could you ask her for a yes or no answer for that for next time?
Yes, I will.
Alright, and I'll see what I can find about myself. Are Sparkles and Emily hackable? My instinct would be to step down if I found out that I was hackable. I think that's a security liability. I wouldn't want to be hackable and be in charge of a ship. I would want to make
Emily,
sure...
you're already an alcoholic!
What? Functioning. Okay, I deal with things.
And
but,
if we're coming down to brass tacks here, anything hackable. It's really the level of effort that is involved. Nothing is hack-proof.
That's true. And I agree that people are hackable, and I'm not only AI, I've got people too.
I mean, just dietary changes can change exactly how you process things, or... I mean, you're hackable on a biological level, you're hackable on a mental level.
Yeah. All right.
The thing.
So I'm gonna do a little research, and if anyone wants to help me out with that, let's see if this rogue mistress is still active, and if we can maybe. I noticed that the beta crew, from what I could tell, they worked together well, but they weren't very proactive in heading off threats. And I'm thinking maybe, since we seem to work together pretty well so far, maybe we could work together to create some safeguards so that we're less hackable. I don't know.
So I'm not the I don't know much about computers, but is the hacking threat only while we're still near Earth, or is it a issue once we're out in space?
I mean, I hope it's only now. The previous Captain Emily. See, these are the things that drive me to drink. The previous Captain Emily was killed as a result of this hacker. So, Rogue Mistress is serious business about destroying this mission as a whole, or has some other motive for one ship to get there before the others, or something like that. I don't know. What I do know is that the previous me was killed, and I don't want to die.
So I think the next question is, based on the research and investigation we've already done, is Rogue Mistress ground-based somewhere, like on Earth or Mars, or is she on one of the ships?
She's in the computers. So I don't know.
So is she an alien herself?
Apparently, the info security person from the beta crew created some kind of AI. They created some kind of other AI, and that's Rogue Mistress. And the point is, it's loose now, and who knows where it is. Could be in our systems already. We don't know.
So I think a good way to take a look at this is if we have some of the initial schematics and documentation on Rogue Mistress, potentially find some sort of code markers that would indicate that she's been present somewhere. We do some sort of monitoring from that score. Mind, I'm literally pulling all of this from the info security guy here at the resort.
Mm-hmm.
So this is all based on pretty much hearsay. I am not an expert. But this could be a way that we could potentially hide her off at the pass.
It's a good place to start, and, there was some chatter that Rogue Mistress could perhaps be involved in some kind of activism or, activist causes. So if any of you happen to have connections to anything like that, maybe you could reach out and check your sources and make sure they're not derailing Epsilon. Because I would like to launch, and I'd like for everything to be okay. And I would like to not be hacked, and I would also like for Sparkles to not be hacked.
One actively tried to talk to this Rogue Mistress and just try to communicate and find out why and what.
That sounds dangerous, but I kind of like danger. I don't know. What does everyone else think?
It can't hurt if there's a possibility that she's already in our circuits. We should, if she's coming with us anyway, potentially regardless, we should figure out a way to communicate that with her.
So, Sarah, you seem like you're an AI expert. Is there any way that you can try to figure that out?
Try to set up a line of communication, but I can't promise anything. There's a lot of chance involved.
I mean, you could just hook me up to the computer or something.
That could be an unacceptable risk.
Yeah, well.
Especially for someone that just said they don't want to die.
Yeah,
That's
considering
true.
what you did to the other one of you. Maybe not you.
I'd rather it be me than anyone else here, though. It's my job.
Yeah, but we don't know that anyone else other than you is actually in danger here.
That's a fair assessment.
And to be quite frank, we need you. You are our captain. Who else is going to lead this motley band of fuckheads into God knows where?
Well, I'll do my best. It wouldn't be the first time I've led a motley band of fuckheads into God knows where. That happened
What's
in the
a
Battlefield. That is.
It's not in my dictionary.
I feel like.
And that's okay. Put it out of your dictionary for now.
Yeah, don't put that in your dictionary.
Emily is a bad influence.
Sometimes I am. Oh, I mean, I wasn't the first
Emily
one
is
who
only
said it.
13% more negative in influence than the average person.
Hey, how about that? That's a statistic for you. Take that, scientists.
Well, I'm glad we have that document.
Yes. Yeah, Sparkles, don't worry about that word. Just pretend you never heard it. And then, do you know the game?
Delete it.
Good, good. Sparkles, do you know the game Earmuffs?
Yes.
Okay, so if we say Sparkles earmuffs, then you gotta go like this and not hear what we're saying, right?
I don't have ears. Do you mean cover my my audio?
Yeah, cover your input. Cover the audio input so that you don't hear the things that we're saying that are not good for you to hear. Alright? Great. I'm glad we had that system worked out. Remember that, everyone. Earmuffs. Earmuffs are your friend. Alright. Great. So, earmuffs procedure has been initiated. Fantastic. Alright.
I'll watch my language in the future.
I'm sure everything will be fine. I mean, it's the real world. So, as far as our scheduled agenda, those are the things that I really kind of wanted to cover. Before we disband for the evening, does anybody have anything else they'd like to review or put on the docket for discussion for next time?
I would like to get a list of animals that people would be interested in preserving. So if you guys can give me a list of favorite animals, things that you think we should bring on with us, that would be cool.
All right.
Tamagotchi.
What's that?
That can be arranged.
Animals.
Oh yeah.
I've never
We
heard
can
of
fit
that.
many more of those on board than any other kind of animal.
All right. Can you eat one? Is that food?
Would not recommend.
All right. All right. So
You
types
can
of
eat
animals.
anything.
Yeah, really, we could eat anything.
At least once.
At least once.
That's probably not something you should teach the kids.
No.
Am I a bad influence? I feel like I'm a bad influence.
13%.
Apparently.
It's a good number.
Whoops. All right, so you want a list of animals. Anybody else have anything that they need from the rest of the crew or wanted to discuss next time at length?
Do we have any preliminary questions that we want to ask Rogue Mistress if I happen to be able to get in contact with her?
That is a great question.
Motivation.
Rogue Mistress question.
Main point.
So, like, motivations, weaknesses. I basically want to be like, fight me. Can I say that?
I don't think she will tell you what her weaknesses are. Call it a hunch.
Emily, I know you don't have necessarily a lot of experience with this, but most people don't go up to someone and say, "Hi, what is your greatest weakness?"
Well,
That's just not an
Unless it's a
instant
job interview. That actually did come up in my interview prior to getting on Chariot.
see?
Now that I think about it.
It's relevant.
But that's not a casual conversation, you know?
But you know me, I'll go up to someone and I'll be like, do you have a problem with me? Fight me. Let's go. You know,
But
so...
See, this is why someone who isn't you is going to be talking to Rogue Mistress.
That's true. That's very true. I'm great at delegating. So I'm sure
It would
you'll
be
have a great
interesting
conversation.
trying to watch you fight a computer program, though.
Yeah, I'd like punch the computer panel, basically.
Can I put that on my show?
Yes. Emily versus Rogue Mistress. I love it. I love it. That's a new kind of fight. Yeah, or like we could... Never mind. That would be really bad to say in front of Sparkles.
Yeah, it would.
I will not at all suggest pitting an animal of any kind against Rogue Mistress.
No, my animals are not for fighting.
Velociraptor versus Rogue Mistress. Make it happen.
I know you want to preserve these animals, but are you sure you want to bring anything onto a ship that's captained by Emily? That's a decision you're making. You're putting them into that situation.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm completely fine. Completely confident.
I have a couple of things.
Yes.
Two in particular. Once we're on the ship, just so you know, my creator cannot be near any people unless she's in her protective shielding. She has a very weak immune system, hence why I'm delegating to keep an eye out, because she likes to escape, and I don't want anything to happen to her.
So what if
once we're on the ship, just make sure that she's not touched.
What if your creator wants to, like, visit the cat, for example, that I just saw?
Be a robotic cat?
Yeah, the real kitty cat that goes meow.
That would not be advised.
That's really sad. That's really sad.
That's why she created me.
Not have to live in protective shielding?
I'm sorry, I did not understand.
Is there any way that, I mean, we're going to be on a ship for the rest of our lives. Is there any way someone can develop something so she doesn't have to be in protective shielding?
Anything is possible. I don't know. I'm not part of the medical field. So that's one thing I wanted to.
Alright, well, I will not disturb the protective shielding situation.
Secondly, she has asked me to my fellow crewmates if there's any kind of upgrades or experimental processes that you would like installed to make things easier.
Would it be unethical for me to ask you to learn how to make alcohol?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, never happened. Never happened.
Besides,
I'm not sure that telling a 6-year-old to program alcohol is necessarily the correct thing to do.
Okay.
Emily?
Yeah.
You could potentially put that programming in yourself.
That is a brilliant idea. Let's work on that. Come on, Sarah. Come on. Just write the program.
Never would have thought of this on her own.
Write me the program. Do it. Come on, just do it now as a favor so I don't have to order you. Come on. Just write the program, please.
Just have it prepared.
Write the program. Oh,
Look,
I just gave my sister homework.
At the end of this whole situation, maybe I'll write you the program, okay?
Fine.
Just so I have this to hold over your head, because otherwise you're going to run around making orangutan ale or whatever it is. Don't do that.
Orangutan ale. I hadn't thought about that. We had the resources here.
I'm not going to help you with that.
I'm just saying we have the skill, the team, the talent, the resources to make that possible.
Hope it doesn't involve real orangutans.
Maybe put those on a different ship.
Maybe I won't bring those.
Bear ale it is.
Comprehensive seed bank that I'm working on running the hydroponics, just to have, so we have the existing plants that we're bringing on board, and then also additional stuff that we can grow later on and basically have additional supplies. That said, we shouldn't go through everything. There is a species of fennel that went completely extinct because the Romans used it for contraception. Let's not be like the Romans.
Yeah, I'm also against the destruction of everything that we try to, like, inhabit. Let's be more respectful on our voyage, if we can.
That would be ideal.
Yeah. Of course, if something tries to fight us, then, well...
I mean, the good news is that you only need enough whiskey to last through the first generation.
Why? Are you gonna make whiskey extinct? That's not funny.
That and what exactly is your lifespan, Emily, considering there's an AI android component to you?
Probably. I might get to see Proxima B unless I choose to deactivate or upload myself before then.
So maybe let's not make whiskey extinct.
That is a wise choice.
And also, if you touch my vodka, you will run into my knife. You will run into my knife 10 times.
Are we also
Whoa. If I fight you, though, I'll win, because I'm me. Also, I'm, like, part android, I think, so...
Don't kill the...
Then don't touch my vodka.
I won't touch your vodka as long as you keep me supplied with whiskey.
We'll talk.
Alright. Sparkles, is there anything that you or your creator need, or questions that you need answered prior to the next session?
My creator has requested an infinity amount of crayons.
Alright, an infinity amount might be a little unreasonable, but I feel like we could accommodate.
Well, she is a child.
Yeah, I feel like we could
crayons
accommodate.
are made from, what, wax? So if we bring bees and stuff...
Right, we could just use the bees to make the wax and the honey and whatever. I don't know. What do bees even do? I know that it's bad that they almost went extinct on Earth. Am I right?
So bees are primarily good for pollination of plants, so I would recommend we have them anyway. Just for, it helps create some genetic diversity in the plant life that we're having. That also includes, honey production, wax production. It would actually be really useful to have, just in general.
Alright, there we go. Animal number 1, bees.
Some kind of bee containment unit if we're going that route.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Rolling bees around the ship.
Well, that's the thing. If we're going to have, no matter what kind of animal we're going to have, we're going to need to make sure that we have proper containment, proper environment controls, proper food.
Otherwise,
like
bees will sting children, and then Sparkles will go crazy robot. We don't want that to happen.
That would be scary.
Yeah.
Crazy robot?
Oh, yeah, I was just concerned,
About
like, if there were bees loose on the ship and they started, like, stinging all the kids, you'd probably, like, freak out.
Well, I think this is probably why we would keep them contained.
Yeah, no bees.
That's why we are keeping them contained.
Yeah.
Yes.
We should probably have the animal part of the ship separate from the children part of the ship anyway, just even for the animal safety.
And the children's safety.
Yeah,
Yes.
don't forget to keep
Those
them in
are the same,
cages.
but-
Animals, I mean. Right. Okay.
And now we have to be very careful about the containment to make sure that, especially smaller ones that could potentially get in the air vents, don't get in the air vents. The animals and the children are things that originally near the two shall meet are suddenly meeting, and that becomes a thing.
Did you mean animals in the air vents or children in the air vents?
Yes.
They're bad.
Both would be bad.
Yeah.
Alright. I like that this ship is focused on safety. That makes my job easier.
Someone has to be.
Right? Okay.
Do not focus on safety.
We're fine. We're good. Are there any other items? Because it is about time to wrap up. Anything else we want to add to the docket for next time? Or resolve now?
Well, like I said, just make sure that you have all of your various dietary restrictions and food allergies to me, but we don't really need to discuss those at length.
Alright. Dietary stuff. Dietary stuff to be cool. Anything else?
Also, if you have any particular family recipes that you want to preserve.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. I have a sizable book of Italian recipe from my great-grandmother.
That's pretty awesome.
That could be a fun project for the ship if everyone brings one recipe.
Yeah.
Ship cookbook.
I've been living on Soylent for years, so sorry.
That's fine. That's absolutely fine. There are so many different variants on Soylent, too, that you could potentially, one that works really well for, I don't know, additional energy or a mental boost. That stuff's important, too.
I love it. Let's do that for next time. Everybody find or bring a recipe that they like. Some of them you might just find on the web. It's easy enough to just copy and paste that link and provide that to Vanna.
Or sentimental value, even.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be nice, and we could put together a little compendium or something. It's also possible, depending on how comfortable we get with each other, maybe one night we want to all have dinner together over our little chats and get a little more familiar with people,
That sounds marvelous, but then again, I'm biased.
Yeah, well, hey, food's important, and it builds trust among everyone when we can sit down and eat together.
Absolutely.
Yeah, have some
I will
bread.
have my creator install food processing units on me.
Fantastic.
That's great.
Great.
Well, I don't have anything else. If that's good, we're going to wrap it up for the evening, everybody. All right, we will see you next time.